things are rockets, complete rockets. Ladies and gentlemen, 2023 BMW M3. This is the base, so we have the manual transmission finally. I've driven 2 comps with the ZF8 speed with X-Drive, rear-wheel drive only, 6-speed manual, as you can see, 6MT, and the GTP is for the color, which stands for Grigio Telesto Pearl. Gotta love it. We got OEM wheel and tire setup, 275 in the front, 285 in the rear, PS4S rubber, 1920 inch. And of course we got the carbon bucket seats, which the door is locked, so I'll show you on the other side. But Brendan, the owner, who is gracious enough to let us review his car, he uses this as a dual duty vehicle, both track and street. So he's done a few choice modifications. We have an active Autowerke race exhaust. You're gonna enjoy that shortly. Endless ME20 brake pads. And perhaps the biggest thing to the actual driving dynamics and experience, full SPS catalog, plus MCS two-way adjustable, remote reservoir coilovers that are tuned just in a very surprising way. I'll show you shortly what I mean. But with that out of the way, let's see how she drives. Oh, there's even this like dump valve here. So essentially a cutout to the mid pipe, and based on this valve positioning, you can open and close it. When he's on track, he likes to open it so he gets a little bit more vibration, a little bit more noise as well, so he can hear through the helmet. We're gonna start off closed, and we're gonna start this on comfort. We're gonna turn off the rev match though. That 3-liter S58 Inline 6 engine, turbocharged, making 473 horsepower, 406 pound-feet of twist. I actually like this shifter quite a bit. This is the Autosolutions short shifter. It has a 25% reduced throw, you know, different bushings as well, and it's 10 millimeters higher. I feel like the 10 millimeter increase in height, probably not necessary for me. I feel like the ergonomics of my hand needing to be that 1 centimeter higher is a little bit, I actually noticed it when I first got in. Didn't feel quite right, but the throw is definitely less rubbery than what you're used to in a BMW manual transmission. Nice notchy shifts. Woohoo! Rear-wheel drive only, so we're saving about 200 pounds. This is the lightest configuration of the G80 M3, and we drove a stock one in a previous video. Link to that in the description. But this, my goodness. These things are rockets, complete rockets. Oh my God. I'm really impressed by the suspension, because what it does in a magnificent way, it's firm, so you have the communication of what's happening on the road and what's happening in the car with quick, a quick rate of transfer, right? When it's chassis and suspension is stiffer, you get that information transfer quicker, you feel more, but it's not harsh. That's the really surprising thing. It's actually a comfortable ride. He dual duties this, and it is like, it's surprisingly comfortable. One thing that I'm finding hard is heel towing, because the brake pedal is very touchy, very sensitive, which is fine. It actually is nice and easy to modulate. I like the endless brake pads here. But the issue is that the throttle, it's not an on-off switch, which is good. You don't want on-off switch. You want to be able to modulate it well, which is great. But the issue is that because the brakes are so sensitive, it's not as natural of a heel toe movement, because you tend to hit the brakes too much and not the throttle enough, or vice versa. You hit the brakes too much and to get the throttle to do what you want it to do. But you can easily remedy that, first of all, with the rev match, or just by getting used to driving the vehicle. Just has a bit of a learning curve is all. With the S58, you get not much torque down low. You really got to keep it above 3,000 RPM. The owner was telling me they actually nerf it at the lower RPMs to protect the transmission. They reduced the torque significantly, And you also feel a bit more lag, of course, down there because you haven't spooled up the turbos. But once you're beyond that, it just has torque everywhere else. And of course, one of the issues with turbocharged engines is that they tend to die off in your red line, but you don't have the issue here with the S58 engine. People sing praise of this engine for good reason. It's not the smoothest BMW inline six I've ever driven, but it's definitely one of the most impressive from a technical perspective, the performance piece. Let's see if we can do this dump valve, hear a difference. So we're gonna try to open this, holding that button. And we're going too slow to notice a difference. Oh, I can actually feel a little bit more vibration now. He also actually used the CSL code on the steering software of the E-Pass unit. And what that apparently helps with is a bit of feel and a bit of loading up. It's a slight improvement, but overall the car still does feel pretty numb. We're gonna put this into the sportier settings. See how things change. The steering a little bit heavier. Now this is brake-by-wire, and when you go from the comfort to sport, the initial bite of the brakes is actually tuned to be more aggressive in sport. Which I actually don't mind right now, because I'm driving a little bit more aggressively. Yeah, see, I didn't quite blow the throttle there high enough. Oh my god. This thing is a monster, guys. The G80 M3 is such an impressive beast. You know, in the sports setting, the steering, I feel like I'm getting a little bit more than with a stock G80. But again, still a pretty numb steering experience. Although the front end is very sharp. Don't get me wrong. It's still a great front end, very direct, very immediate to my inputs. No delay. This thing drives way better than you would expect something that weighs 3,800 pounds to drive. Claws for grip with these PS4S tires, and you can get something that's, you know, far stickier than the PS4S, but on street, still monstrously grippy. Car handling these bumps, not really getting unsettled, but still retains some of that playfulness. It's not nervous, it's not twitchy, but on throttle, you can get the tail to wiggle a little bit. Under heavy braking, which I was doing more on the other way before we started coming back down, you can get it to wiggle ever so slightly too. It's a really dynamic vehicle, and what I appreciate about this G80, especially with this suspension setup, it retains that communication, it retains the directness of the chassis. Again, not so much with the steering, yet it's actually surprisingly comfortable too, and so compliant. Such amazing body control with this compliance is something that I really haven't seen in any vehicle of this class before, and at this weight, it's really, really impressive what they've done. The suspension being the highlight of this versus the stock. And of course, the exhaust and the other mods he's done are great as well, but really the suspension stands out as truly, truly improving the experience behind the wheel of this G80 M3. Great brakes, man. Great brakes. So solid, so confidence inspiring. This vehicle is such a monster. Now, when you're getting to the G80, it's important to know what you're getting yourself into. I think from a performance perspective, this is gonna blow your mind. It is insane what they have. A sedan, a 4-door, 4-seater family hauler. What this thing can do is insane. The manual transmission, I haven't driven the stock, but this one feels really good. And I'm guessing based on my experience with other BMW manual transmissions, this is feeling really nice. I like this upgrade. I think the steering upgrade is a subtle but noticeable improvement, but not a huge difference. The suspension, if you want to put money, and he's dropped about 15K in parts alone before labor, if you want to put money into your G80 M3 and improve it, this MCS two-way adjustable is, I'm really impressed. It rides a lot better than stock, and stock, it's a bit too harsh for me. I can't really see myself daily driving that vehicle. This is something I could see myself daily driving, yet it still has such amazing body control and firmness and communication. It doesn't feel like we drove a 997 GT3 earlier today that had road and track Olin suspension. That felt just too soft. It kind of wasn't congruent with the rest of the vehicle. Here, it's congruent. I feel like this fits the car better than the OEM suspension. So fantastic stuff. Big thanks to Brendan for letting me review his vehicle. Big thanks to Fenton's son from the Zygreen YouTube channel for making this review possible. If you want your car reviewed, visit us on jabalandcars.com. Fill out the form on the homepage. Much love. See you on that next one.